guys. All right, today we are doing lesson 12.4 where we are going to be multiplying binomials. So when we talk about binomials, obviously those are things with two terms. And so we are going to be multiplying two terms by two more terms. Okay, now there's three ways that I'm going to teach you that you can do this. And you can use any method that you want. It honestly doesn't matter. They all work the same. So it really is just a preference of what you prefer. But I'll teach you all three. So the first method we're going to use is multiplying vertically. Now, the nice thing about this method is it draws on something that you already know, on a previous skill that you have about multiplication. So let me remind you of this skill. Let's say you were multiplying 21 by 13. We know that when you multiply two-digit numbers, we would first do the 3 times the 1, and then we would do the 3 times the 2, and then remember we put a placeholder down there in the 1 spot since we're moving over to the 2, and we do 1 times 1, and then 1 times 2, and then we would add them together. All right, that's how we know how to do multiplication. Well, we can do the same thing when we have binomials, because the key here is that we need to multiply each part of one binomial by each part of the other binomial. So I can here put 7x plus 4 times 5x plus 4. And I'm going to multiply these two together. So I can start by doing 4 times 4, which is 16, and then 4 times 7, which is times 7x, which is 28x. And unlike when we do multiplication with just numbers where we can carry things over, we're not going to do any carrying. Like notice when it was 4 times 4, I don't carry that 1 over, I just write 16. All right, now when I move over to the next spot over, I need to put a 0 underneath there. And so now 5x times 4 is 20x, and notice by adding that 0 there, it starts lining up the like terms for you. And then 5x times 7x is 35x squared. Okay, this is also using some of the skills that we used yesterday when we talked about multiplying powers. And now I can just add these two, and thankfully the like terms are already lined up for me. So I have 35x squared, and then I have 28x and 20x, so that's 48x, and then plus 16. And that's your final answer. You want to make sure, as always, it's in standard form so that everything's combined that can be, and that your powers, your exponent goes from greatest to least. So here's one way to multiply binomials. Let me do one more example using this method. I'm going to do number 3. So I have 8k, and I'm going to put this as plus -1 just so I don't lose those negative signs, and then negative 3k plus -5. All right, so I have -1 times -5, that's positive 5. Then I have, I'm doing the -5 times that, and then the -5 times the other term. So -5 times 8k is -40k. All right, then I add a 0, and I'm going to do -3k times -1, so that gives me positive 3k. And then I have -3k times 8k, and so that gives me -24k squared. Be careful with those negative signs and with the variables. Now I'm going to add these two together. I get -24k squared. Okay, here I've got different signs, so I subtract, and it would stay negative since the 40 is negative and it's further from 0, and then plus 5. And that would be my answer there, -24k squared plus -37k plus 5. All right, so here's the first method, multiplying vertically. And again, the nice thing about this method is that it draws on a skill that you already know about multiplication. All right, let's move on to method 2. All right, method 2 is, we're calling it using the FOIL method, where really we're distributing but we are going to use the acronym FOIL to help us remember what to multiply. So FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, and last. And this is going to tell us which terms to multiply and in which order. Okay, so we are first doing the first term in each binomial. So 4x times 5x would be 20x squared. Then I'm going to do the outer terms. Now, it's going to be easiest if you make everything addition. So this would be 4x times -2, which is -8x. Then I'm next doing the inner terms, the ones on the inside there. And so this would be 3 times 5x, which is 15x. And then finally, the last terms, which would be 3 times -2, which is -6. See, essentially what I have done here is I am taking the 4x term and multiplying it by each part of that binomial. And then I'm taking the 3 term and multiplying it by each part of the binomial. In other words, when I'm distributing here, I've got to distribute each part of the first binomial to each part of the second binomial. All right, now the last step that I have in my problem is to write it in standard form, which means I need to combine these like terms. So I get 20x squared plus 7x plus -6. And that would be my final answer. Just so you're clear, if you had used method 1, you would have gotten the exact same answer here. All right, let's do another one. Number 6, I do the first term. So this would be b times b, which is b squared. Then I have b times 9 when I do the outer term, so that's 9b. Then 4 times b when I do the inner terms, and then 4 times 9. In other words, I'm taking this first term b and distributing it to both parts of the second one. Then I'm taking the 4 and distributing it to both parts of the second one. Again, my last step is to combine like terms. So I've got b squared, or you could put 1b squared, plus 13b plus 36. All right, why don't you pause the video right now and try number 7 and 8 using this acronym FOIL to help you distribute. All right, go ahead and check your answers with mine. Again, notice you go first, then the outer terms, then the inner terms, and then the last terms, and then combine like terms to get your final answer. All right, we've got one more method to look at. All right, method 3 is we can use a table or a box to help us set up this problem. Again, let me reiterate, it doesn't matter what method you use, you're going to get the same answer either way, because essentially what you're doing is taking each term in the first binomial and multiplying it by each term in the second one. All right, but here's how the box can help you, or the table, and especially for those of you who are visual learners, this can be a great method to use. Okay. So I'm going to take one of the binomials and put each term on top, and then the other binomial and put each term along the side. Again, don't forget that negative sign with the 1. It does not matter which binomial goes on top and which one goes on the side. It makes no difference at all. Since it's multiplication, the order doesn't matter. All right, now essentially what you're going to do here is you're going to multiply the 2 terms that come together in that box to figure out what term goes in the box. Okay, so we have first 3x times -2x, that's -6x squared. Then 3x times 5 is 15x. -2x times -1 is +2x. And -1 times 5 is -5. And so then your final step is you need to write it as a polynomial, as your final answer. And in that step, you also want to combine like terms. So again, this 2x and 15x can be combined. So I get -6x squared plus 17x plus -5. Again, I want it to be in standard form, so everything that can be combined should be, and I want to also make sure that that the exponents go from greatest to least. All right, let me show you another one this way. So along the top, I'm going to put here 4x and 1. Along the side, 2x and 3. So 4x times 2x is 8x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. 4x times 3 is 12x, and 3 times 1 is 3. So I've got 8x squared, and then I'm going to add the 12x and the 2x to get 14x plus 3. And that would be my final answer there. Again, I'm doing just what I did in the first two methods. I'm just setting it up a different way. So why don't you pause the video right now and try 11 and 12. All right, go ahead and check your answers with mine. Notice that on number 11, when I had that negative m, I wrote that as negative 1m. You don't have to do that, but it just helps me not lose that negative sign there. And so again, this box method just helps you visually see how you are multiplying both of those binomials. All right, so in this last section, we can use any method we want. And there will be a large portion of your homework that will also let you choose any method that you want. It's different than proportions where, like, for some proportions, some methods are better. Honestly, here, any method works anytime. So I most often use the distributing with the FOIL acronym, because I think that's the quickest and it works well. You're welcome to use that, but if you prefer the box or you preferred multiplying vertically, I would encourage you to do that as well. So let's go ahead and try just a couple. So number 13, I'm going to take negative n, or think about that as negative 1n times 11n. So this would be negative 11n squared. Then negative 1n times 1. So that's negative 1n. 7 times 11n is 77n, and 7 times 1 is 7. I'm going to combine like terms to get negative 11n squared plus 76n plus 7 as my final answer. All right, let's do number 14. So I'm going to keep change. I start with 6x times negative 2x, that's negative 12x squared. Then 6x times 5, which is 30x. Then I move on to the negative 9, and I do the inner terms. Negative 9 times negative 2x is positive 18x. And negative 9 times 5 is negative 45. I then need to combine like terms in the middle there, so I get negative 12x squared plus 48x plus negative 45 as my final answer. All right, why don't you pause the video right now and try 15 and 16 using any method you want, and then press play when you're ready to check your answer. You do not need to do 17, 18, 19, and 20, just 15 and 16 right now. All right, go ahead and check your answers with mine. Again, you'll notice that I distributed using the FOIL acronym and then combined like terms, but again, you can use any method you want. I would encourage you to be careful of the negative signs and also be aware and careful of your variables. All right, that's all for today.